In the previous sessions of chapter 4, Krishna, the master, explained something important about this teaching. First, he said that this wisdom has been transmitted through a lineage from a teacher to a qualified student so that its clarity and method are preserved. Then he explained why Arjuna is ready to receive it, because he approaches the teaching with both trust and openness. After that, the master clarified a subtle point about identity, that his manifestation is not driven by karma the way ordinary births are. After that, Krishna clarified a subtle point about identity, that his manifestation is not driven by karma the way ordinary births are. Now, Krishna shifts the discussion from identity to purpose. Arjuna might wonder, if the divine entity manifests, what is the reason for that appearance? Today's verses 7 and 8 answer that question. They explain when and why restoration becomes necessary when Dharma begins to weaken. Before chanting these verses, let us settle the mind. The Bhagavad Gītā is not only philosophy, it is guidance for living with responsibility and clarity. So let us invoke steadiness and openness as we study these texts. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahaihi Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyuttanamadharmasya tatatmanam srujamyaham. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyuttanamadharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna, the master, describes a recurring pattern. When dharma weakens and confusion grows, imbalance appears in the system. This imbalance may appear as loss of fairness, loss of discipline, or weakening of responsibility. When such disorder spreads, restoration becomes necessary. Krishna, the master, explains three movements through which balance returns. First, protection of those who live with integrity. Second, restraint or removal of destructive tendencies. Third, re-establishing dharma so that order can function again. These verses describe divine intervention, but they also reveal a structural truth. No system, whether a society, an institution, or a family, maintains balance automatically. When disorder grows, responsible action must arise to restore stability. That corrective action is the work of Dharma. Consider a simple workplace example. Suppose small ethical shortcuts begin to appear in a team. At first, they seem minor. But if no one addresses them, standards slowly decline, processes weaken, trust begins to erode. However, if someone calmly insists on fairness and correct procedure, direction changes. Nothing dramatic may happen, yet the system stabilizes again. That quiet correction is Dharma in action. Kabir, a poet, once said, "Bura jo dhek na mai chala, bura na milaya koye, jo man dhek na apna, mujhse bura na koye kabira, mujhse bura na koye kabira." When we look honestly within ourselves, we realize that correction often begins with our own clarity. Restoring Dharma starts with how we act. Practical application. The Gita does not ask us to wait for extraordinary heroes to arrive. It asks us to act responsibly in the roles we already occupy. Restoring Dharma often begins with small but steady action. Speaking truth calmly when confusion spreads, protecting fairness within teams or communities, correcting careless or unethical processes, and maintaining discipline when others abandon it. These actions may seem ordinary, but they prevent much larger disorder later. Another important way to protect Dharma is to ask the right questions when something is unclear. If we notice confusion or inconsistency, it is better to ask politely and seek clarification. The purpose is not to challenge a person, it is to protect clarity. Sometimes a simple question asked respectfully can prevent misunderstanding from spreading through a group or a system. This too is part of responsible action. Dharma is protected not only by correcting wrongdoing, but also by ensuring clarity before confusion grows. In this way, every day action becomes participation in restoring balance. There is also a deeper insight in these verses. When Krishna, the Master, says he manifests again and again, it suggests that the principle sustaining Dharma is never absent. The intelligence that restores balance is always present in the universe. Whenever clarity, courage, and responsibility awaken within a person, that sustaining principle is already at work. As we close, today's verses 7 and 8 remind us that order does not sustain itself automatically. Dharma survives when people act with responsibility. Protection of the good, restraint of harmful forces, and restoration of balance, these are ongoing tasks. We may not transform the entire world, but we can ensure that in the roles we occupy, fairness and clarity are preserved. That itself is participation in Dharma. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Swadhyaya Pravachanabhyam na pramaditavyam. Om Tat Sat.